welcome to Whiskey and Wargaming. I'm Patrick, and I'm joined today again by Owen. Hi, Owen.
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, not bad. So I received my new book through the post today, so I was really quite happy and pleased to see it. And I'm going to get the salty bit out of the way first of all. So I'm going to do a little bit of a review of this book now. We can talk about it. Maybe we're getting a practice mission from one of these books, because we're going to be using this book for our new crusade. And it's a new Plague Purge Mission Pack that goes along with the, what's it called now? The Warzone Sheridan, which is with the Book of Rust and things. So when the box came, it came through the post, and it was a very small box. And I thought, oh, maybe they've just sent one of bits of my order, not all of it. And I opened it up, and it was inside there. And it kind of rang alarm bells. So I'm just going to get the salty bit out of the way first of all, because I don't want the rest of this video to be about negatives about it, because I think the content's pretty good. However, this book here is a flimsy kind of paperback thing, spiral bound. It's tiny in size. You could almost fit it in your pocket. Not quite, if you've got big pockets, I suppose. When I've looked at the thickness of it, it's the thickness of a White Dwarf magazine. Yet, as you can probably see behind in the picture here, it cost €32.50 at the Games Workshop site. Now, I got it from a third party, so it cost me €27 something. So I kind of feel that, I don't know what Games Workshop are playing at here, really. Yes, it's got good content in it, but I'm just thinking at that price point, I kind of expected to be getting a hardback book. Now, that's one of the things I really enjoy about the Warhammer books, is that you get these big hardback books that you could put on your shelf and keep, as opposed to some other war games I've played where you get this sort of flimsy sort of manual for it. So if it had been, half the price it is, I'd go, yeah, fair enough. But at the price it is, I'm kind of unimpressed by the quality of the actual print and what you get in it, to be honest with you. That being said, that's the salty bit of the video. I just wanted to get that out of the way and address the elephant in the room first of all. Now, I know you haven't seen the actual book in my hand, but you can trust me on that. So let's talk a bit about the content of it. Okay, let's switch to the other screen here. You're looking at the same screen, aren't you? The article on Warhammer on the Warhammer community site.
Yeah, I'm currently on the site.
Yeah. So we'll have a look at the stuff on the site here. Some nice pictures and things. But I'll talk through really what's in the mission pack. So in the mission pack, we've got sort of half a book, which has got, the mission. Yeah, it is. It's, just over half a book, which has got the stuff about the war zone and everything where the crusade is set in. And the rules and the different missions. And then you've got a whole sort of section at the back with some nice pictures in it, but still I think it's a little bit expensive for what it is. Where you've got the basic rules. Honestly, I just don't think there's any need for those basic rules in there apart from filling out the book. Because anybody who's going to be playing the crusade, as it talks about in the mission pack itself, it doesn't give you the crusade rules, it gives you the basic rules. But if you wanted to play Crusade, it references back to the core book with the Crusade rules in there. And you've got to have those Crusade rules in order to play this. Yet it includes the basic rules in the back. I know it's maybe just a quick reference for people, but it seems a little odd. And I would suggest more of putting the actual Crusade rules in a Crusade book. But anyway, I said I wasn't going to go salty anymore. That's it. So the rest of the book in here, there's a couple of pages of fluff about the Warzone Sheridan, which is, as anybody who's been following the current news has been looking at, is with the new Book of Rust. Then it's got kind of an interesting system on this. So it's got it's broken up into 6 missions for each of the battle sizes. So you've got 6 missions for combat patrol, 6 missions for incursion, 6 missions for strike force, 6 missions for onslaught. So that's very similar to the Beyond the Veil pack, which we've been playing. Then it's got in it the order in which you play that. and I'm quite glad to say it's got inside it that you muster your armies after reading the mission briefing, because we actually were going to house rule that if it didn't have that in. So I think that's a really good thing that it's got in there. We decided we were going to play that anyway, right?
Yeah, it was a nice addition to the last game.
Yeah,
Kind of only came to play at the end, but I think we both kind of enjoyed that.
yeah, absolutely. It kind of added a new dimension to it. We've always played it that, and this is how it reads here: you muster your army from your order of battle. And we'll talk a bit more generally about how Crusades work for any who doesn't know when we actually do the preparation video for the Crusade that we're going to be playing with our house rules and things. But it adds a new dimension to it that you can actually look at the mission and say, okay, what am I going to take from my order of battle? Because you are limited to your order of battle, but how am I going to put a team together that's going to best achieve this mission here, and also playing against what else you think your opponent's going to take. So it just adds a new dimension to it, and we kind of like that. Then it goes through the order here. One thing it does say, which I don't think it said before, is that step 8 is place the objective markers, and step 9 is choose a deployment zone. So that actually came up in the mission that we put out yesterday about the how we were going to do that. So that would add, if we were to play by that rule in the mission we did yesterday, it would have added a whole new dimension to placing those objective markers down. Not that it really came into the mission that we were playing, but still, I think it's kind of an interesting thing. And then it tells you about taking the out of action tests and all the steps. And I do really like the way that they go through it here, because sometimes when you first getting into Crusade, as you know, it can be a bit complicated on which order you do things in and trying to remember to do everything. And I've got to say it's very comprehensive in this, including the update the order of battles. And I mean, for example, in the step 18, update the order of battle. That's the very last step. It says increase your battle tally and your requisition points by 1, and make any notes that you want to record the following in your battle if you wish to add any units. And the step before that, it talks about actually adding 1 to the battle played tally and the battle survived tally, which is something that we constantly forget to do. Not that it ever makes a difference, but it's good to record those things. So just that, having that reminder in there is, I think, quite useful. Then it's got a section of agendas. Now, in the Beyond the Veil pack, it's got some agendas in there which you could take alongside the ones in the core book. And obviously you can always take the ones from your own codex as well, if you've got them. Like, I think you probably have got them in the Drakari codex now. I haven't really checked.
The special...
The agendas.
Sorry,
the agendas.
Agendas, yeah. Yeah, I've noticed a few of them. I haven't really looked at them yet.
Yeah, so
but there is a few there.
You've got some in there.
Same with Battle Scars and Battle Honors.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, in here, it's actually got, it says here that you take, when you select agendas, you cannot choose more than one from each character yet. Yeah. But you take an agenda from here. So there's a lot of things in here that actually do sit in the core book as well, but some which are just for this mission, just for this Crusade pack. So I don't know whether that means you can take some from your own as well. It doesn't specifically say so, yet it does with some of the other things like, the battle traits and things like that. So I'm not sure whether you can take them from your own book. It's very clear to me you can't take them from the core book. You've got to take the agendas from here, because things like Priority Target, things like Reaper are actually in this book as well. Whereas in Beyond the Veil, they weren't. They were just extras.
Well, it's funny, because that was actually one of the things, my complaints about the last few Crusades we had was that all the agendas were totally mixed matched, So, well, it unfortunately it was normally your armies would have special agendas that you could take from certain codexes, while my armies would always just have the core agendas, and I found that it wasn't fair in some ways, because some of the agenda, you can have a selection of both while only in the selection of one. and most of those agendas would be tailored. So the fact that they're kind of saying that you have to take these agendas means that everyone's going to be playing on an even level, and I actually like that.
Yeah, I totally do agree. And yeah, like I say, I don't see actually any mention here saying you can take any of the other ones. Whereas in some of the other steps, it certainly does say that you can take it from there, from here, or you can take it from any of the other ones. But it doesn't say that with agendas, unless
Yeah,
I'm reading something wrong. So yeah, I'd suggest we take something from this book because it's got all of those ones that we would normally take from the core book, but it's
yeah,
got some which are specific for this as well. Then, as you say, we're on an even foot with that. So I do agree with that because there
yeah.
was
It's just nice to it's nice when you both can decide what agendas to take. When you see one person who's constantly, getting, for people who don't really know about agendas, you get experience from them, so your units level up faster, and some of the agendas be very tailored towards certain armies. So if you're using the core ones, everyone's got those options. But when you get these like tailored agendas, they can be quite easy to achieve for certain armies. So when you don't
absolutely.
have that option, yeah. So it's nice that everyone's on the same playing field. You're gonna all have those options. So I'm all for that. I'm all for fairness.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what we found is with when we play the Necrons one, they were very niche. So generally, I wouldn't be taking them because it was so niche. But when we played, and I was playing with Space Marines, I was playing with Death Watch.
Yes, that was a very strong one. They had a really powerful
Yeah,
agenda. That was like an auto tick.
yeah, absolutely. There was one where it was you got an experience point if you passed a morale test, which
Yes.
when a lot of the units in there are quite small units, but they're quite tough as well. They're very hard to fail a morale test on them. So it was kind of, it felt very unfair, whereas you'd be struggling to achieve your agendas sometimes. That was one that I could just take and have no fear of not achieving it.
And it makes all the difference now. We've introduced our own rules as we've been going. And I think in the most recent crusade, we kind of had like our secondaries. So our agendas were achieving our agendas became very important. So to be able to just auto pass an agenda like that and get experience for it, would be it's really powerful. So now it's kind of yeah,
Yeah,
it's sorry.
yeah, I was just going to say, yeah, absolutely. I mean, we'll talk about that in further depth when we do the planning for our actual crusade we're going to start, and we'll go through some of those things that we've set up for that. But yeah, what you say about not only it has a double effect for us. Not only does it achieve that agenda, give us free experience if it was a broken one, but it also contributes to the victory conditions for winning the whole of the crusade. So yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, but these are things that we're kind of like learning as we play. So and we're
Yeah,
making up our own rules too. Kind of like tailoring it to our own needs. But I think that's like the joy of Crusade is it's your game, so you can kind of like take what you want and it's yours to play.
yeah, absolutely. And again, when we go into the video where we do the pre-planning for the crusade, we'll go into this in a lot further detail of why we've done things the way we have. But it isn't necessarily that we've changed the rules, it's just we've added some levels onto it to actually make it play as a whole crusade rather than this just an endless thing where you can just level up and level up and level up and has no actual victory conditions to it. We've set victory conditions to our crusade, and I do think that's kind of an important thing to do for anyone really who's playing crusade.
Yeah, we have an end game, which is the most important. It's like a mini tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll scroll down here and you can see a little bit of some of the missions that you can take here. It doesn't say much about them here, but you'll see there's 6 missions that you can take for each of the levels. So we'll be starting on the combat patrol, going on to the incursion missions, going on to the strike force, and then we possibly will be going on to the onslaught. We've got again, I won't spoil it too much for the video that we're going to make on our pre-planning for the new crusade coming up, but we have a random factor when we get to the last few matches where it could go into onslaught or it could go a lot smaller again, so there's added things to it, but again, we'll talk about that in more detail later.
It's very hard to talk about the Crusade without talking about the Crusade.
Yeah, it is, because we're not really talking about the crusade that we're going to be playing here. It's more about what sits in this pack. But
Yeah.
so I'll move further on now. So yeah, there's all of those agendas that we can take, and won't go into all of those agendas at the moment. Some of them are very similar to or they are exactly the same as the core book, and then there's a couple on there which aren't, which are specifically for this. There is some requisitions that you can take, and here it says, and this is why I kind of get the feeling that you're meant to take only the agendas from this book, because under the requisitions it says, if your army is taking part of a Plague Purge battles, you can spend requisition points on the Plague Purge requisitions listed below, in addition to the ones found in other sources. So that clearly says you can take them from the core book, you can take them from your own codex, but the agendas doesn't. So that gives me the impression that the agendas are meant to be just taken from this book. But there is some really nice requisitions in here. There's a couple at the beginning here, which is Veterans of Obelis and Raiders of Obelis. And I'll get into what this means in a little bit when I talk about the different types of mission in this. But one is that you purchase this requisition when mustering your army for a Plague Purge battle in which the Plague Purge assault stratagems are in use. You can select one of those stratagems, and you can use that stratagem once in the battle without spending any command points. So just to give a little bit of foreknowledge on the things I'm going to talk about in a minute. In this mission, in this Crusade pack, there's two types of missions. So when you roll for one, it's either a recon mission or it's an assault mission. And each of the recon missions, you have a set of stratagems which you can take alongside your normal stratagems, which are specially for the recon mission. And then in the assault, you have a set of stratagems which you can take, which are especially for the assault missions. So with this requisition, you spend one requisition point, and you can take one of those for free. So you do it at the beginning of your battle, spend that requisition point, and you can take one of them for free and use it for one. So there's some of them that, for example, cost 3 CP or 2 CP to take. So you can take that and use it once in the battle without actually having to pay for it. But you do obviously have to sacrifice requisition points for this. And the Raiders of Obelis is exactly the same, but that one's for the recon missions rather than the assault missions. So I think it's pretty cool, but I do see that we're going to struggle a bit with requisition points in this one, simply because there is no other option for getting stuff. Like if you remember in Beyond the Veil, we had, what was it called now? Investigation points, that was what it was called. And
yeah, 3 investigation points kind of was able to build your army up, make your pool bigger, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So you got investigation points at the end of each battle on top of your requisitions, and they could be used to spend on various things, but what we mainly spent them on was just using them almost as a requisition point to increase the pool of our army. There is nothing like this in this book. So it's really going to be a big decision on when do you use these requisitions or not. So that's the first two on there. And then there's one that's called Adapt to Overcome. And you purchase this requisition either before or after a Plague Purge battle. Select one Crusade card from your order of battle. So that's one of the units. They're called Crusade cards. From your order of battle, it has one or more weapon enhancement. Select one of that unit's weapon enhancements and change it to a different weapon enhancement. And this either costs 2 or 3 requisition points, depending on whether it's from the Warzone Charadon, the Book of Rust, or whether it's from Yeah, and then it costs 2. Otherwise, it costs 3 requisition points. So, yeah, I haven't got the Book of Rust yet, but I think in the Book of Rust there's some things you can buy for weapon enhancements, some Crusade rules in the Book of Rust as well. So again, rather than including the basic rules at the back of here, maybe they should have put the Crusade stuff from the Book of Rust in the back of here, because there's a lot of people who are getting hold of a Book of Rust who are just really wanting the new things like the Dark Eldar stuff that you get in there, and aren't interested in the Crusade at all. So it seems a little bit weird the way they split it up, but whatever. So the next one that is on here is called Special Asset, and that's 1 requisition point. And you use this when you're mustering your army, and you select 1 unit from your army roster that has a Crusade card, so just one of the units, and the unit gains 1 weapon enhancement for that battle, and then you lose it at the end of the battle. You do have to increase your Crusade points accordingly while it has it, and then you take it off again. What I find interesting about this one is, because of that, as we discussed earlier, that muster step comes after you've seen which mission you're taking. You can potentially go in, use 1 requisition point, and choose a weapon which is going to really fit with that mission that you're playing. So I think, yeah, it adds to that stuff that we've been talking about already that we really like about it.
Yeah, you can kind of swap and change things on the go and surprise your opponent.
Yeah, completely, because that's one thing that we did find, I think, on the first Crusade that we played, where we weren't as used to it and we didn't have the house rules in place, that we found, because you are limited to what's on your order of battle, after it came into a few games and we were down on requisition points, couldn't do much with them anyway, we were kind of knew what was coming. And it didn't have as much dynamic element to it. It was kind of... yeah, I know what he's going to take. There's not much I can do about it. I'm just going through this mission now. And this just gives you a chance to say, do you know what? I'm going to change that around by taking something here to improve my chances. Then we've got 1 here which is called 1 More Into the Breach, and that's 1 requisition point. And you purchase this requisition after a Plague Purge battle, when an out-of-action test is failed for a unit. That unit suffers a devastating blow but does not lose any experience points. All other effects apply. So, for anyone who's not familiar with what you do with the out-of-actions, you can either take a devastating blow, or you can take I forget the actual name of it there, but the devastating blow means that you lose experience points and you roll a d6 and you lose that many experience points from your card as well, and it potentially could knock you back a rank and actually have to get rid of the thing that you've given them. So I find this quite good, really. You can actually just pay not to take that, not to lose those experience points, but again it costs 1 requisition point, which is going to be tight, so I do quite like it.
Yeah, and as you were saying, in this one, we're not going to be getting the investigation points, so we're really going to be down on requisition points. Requisition points are really, really important for growing your pool of units.
Absolutely.
So,
I can't see me actually taking this requisition very often. I'm probably just taking the hit on points, but it gives you more things to think about.
Yeah, and again, it's so hard to talk about it without talking too much about the Crusade, but with our rule set, with our kind of our system that we have, we might even have to look at maybe changing it up, making it a bit more random on what points we take from the beginning. Maybe we could look at starting on bigger numbers.
Yeah, maybe that is an idea.
And rolling to see if we get smaller numbers rather than just a progressive. From the 500 to the 2000, we could start at the 1000 and kind of fluctuate. But these are all things for another day. But it's definitely it's kind of it might change the way we look at Crusade.
Yeah, maybe it does. I mean, one of the big things about starting with the 500 points that we have been doing for the first 3 missions is that it gives us chance to start building those experience points up and actually building our team before having to spend too much of those requisition points. So by the time we come into those higher missions where we do need to spend those requisition points, we've got a little bit of a pool of them beforehand. So that's kind of the thinking behind that one.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I would just have to see how things look when I get a look at the book as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So the last requisition that you can spend on here is something called Strength Through Suffering. And you purchase this requisition before any plague battle. Select one crusade card from your order of battle, so one of the units, that has one or more battle scars. While that unit has any battle scars, each time it would gain an experience point from a battle, it gains an additional experience point. Only one unit from your order of battle can be selected for this requisition at any one time. To use this requisition again, all of that unit's battle scars must be removed. So, yeah, it's kind of an interesting one too. If you really wanted to concentrate on boosting up a particular unit to get something, a new weapon enhancement or one of the battle traits that you think would be really useful on it, this is kind of interesting that if you've got a battle scar on them, you can actually use them to do something like that. Obviously, with that battle scar, we're going to get losses in certain things as well. But yeah, this sounds quite an interesting one.
You're going to mix things up a bit.
Yeah. So, talk briefly about the stratagems. So, as I said, there's two different sets of stratagems that you can use in this, alongside the ones that you'd normally use from your codex, obviously, and the ones from the core book. But these stratagems are divided into the two types of missions, and that's the recon or the assault. So they have slightly different things. I'm not going to go through all of these at the moment here, but there's some really interesting ones. A lot of them are to do with... They do generally cost 3 or 2 CP each. There's a couple at 1 CP. But most of them are things like you can perform actions while being engaged, and it overrides that whole not being able to perform actions while being engaged or while an enemy's in the objective marker as well. So there's some really nice ones like that. I mean, you are paying CP for them, but it could be a game changer in a lot of these things. So yeah, some really sort of nice ones in here. I think you'd need to be able to see the book before. I don't really want to read through all of these right now. But there's one, for example, I'm looking at in the assault one here, which is you use this stratagem during your deployment. It costs 2 CP. This is only to be used in the assault, and you choose a unit, and it gains objective secured until the end of a battle. So this could be really good for armies that are suffering from not having too many troops. You can actually
very powerful. Or even if you've lost your objective secure troops and you need something on a pinch.
Well, you use it at the start of the battle, and that's the only time it can be used. Use it during deployment. So
oh right. Still, I mean, we've had games where we might have had only one unit that was objective secured, and to be able to just give your vehicle or give your elite troops that objective secure is pretty powerful.
Oh, absolutely, because I mean, there's units, for example, like the Ripper Swarms and the Tyranids that can drop in from Deep Strike, and they can move quite fast, and they're objective secured. Or those armies which have just got masses of troops, which are all objective secured. When you've got something like the Raider or something like that, you can drop that on a point and it doesn't mean anything. So being able to give something like that objective secured is pretty powerful.
Yeah, for sure. I'm currently thinking Incubi. I'm thinking lots of Incubi with objective secure.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Incubi are quite a big threat as it is. But being able to give them objective secured would just destroy the whole thing of being able to go and steal that point from them.
Yeah, yep. And that's their job. Get up front, get on to points, kill everything. With the Raider, you obviously, never turn down objective secure, but it's a one model, so all it takes is one other model with objective secured to take it off it. So, but not a bad decision as well on a pinch. You know, it moves 14 inches. You can throw it around the map, and you can start taking points that you mightn't have expected, or even deny you a point, which is just as good.
Yeah, I think that's a really powerful stratagem. And there's another that I'm going to pick out here as well, and this is from the Recon. Again, I'm not going to go through all of these. This does cost 3 CP, but you use this stratagem before deployment when setting up a unit from your army that has fast attack or troops battlefield roll. That unit can be set up wholly within 6 inches of your deployment zone and more than 9 inches from the enemy's deployment zone. So it's kind of like an advanced deploy. And I know there's a lot of armies that do have these things. I mean, pointing at you now, Space Marines. But there's a lot of armies that do have advanced deploy as it is. But this is, I think, it does cost 3 CP, which seems rather a lot, but it could really secure winning a game. If you've got a set of a unit there that's quite powerful enough, got some invul saves, can stay on the battlefield, and being able to pump them up, or just lacking on range.
Thinking Necron Warriors, 20 man unit of Necron Warriors.
Yeah, that would be absolutely amazing. But even things like being able to secure the Alpha Strike from some Gene Stealers, which if you haven't got the Kraken Hive Fleet, you can still do an Alpha Strike with them, but there's a lot of luck involved in that. And it's like I found out in the last game, they didn't actually make it, even though I'd run them up the battlefield and they were very close to doing so, but they didn't make that Alpha Strike in, which would have actually turned the tide of that a little bit, because not only would have got the Alpha Strike, they'd have been quite safe as well. So that'd have been a really big thing. So being able to place them an extra 6 inches on deployment is, I think, pretty powerful. Anyway, I'm not going to go through all of the different missions, because when we play these I will talk them through here, because there is quite a lot of them in the book. But I just wanted to give a little bit of a sort of an overview of what we can use in this. And yeah, I do really find that whole mechanic here of having the different sorts of missions, whether it's recon or whether it's assault, and having stratagems that go alongside that, are a really interesting thing. I mean, obviously we haven't played it yet, so we'll have to see how it plays out, but I do find it quite an interesting dynamic.
Yeah, so do I. It'd be interesting to see it all on the table and implementing it with all of our rules too.
Yeah, so we'll end this video here, but as we said, we're going to put out a video in the next day or so where we're going to go into our rules and the bit of a pre-Crusade prep. So we'll go through a bit more about what the Crusade is all about in that video, and we'll go about our house rules and the things that we've implemented to make it work a bit better for us. So any thoughts on it, then I'd love to hear it in the comments. Yeah, please let us know. I think what we're going to go do now, and you should see a video coming out for this as well, is we're going to go and do a practice mission of one of the ones in the book that we've got here, so stay tuned for that one. Just one of the combat patrol missions that we draw up from the book. But I think, seeing as you haven't actually got the book yourself yet, I think we'd probably say we don't use the stratagems at the moment for this, even though they could be a really good thing for it. But just to get a sense of one of the missions.
Yeah, I think we'll definitely need a print off of the stratagems just to really see to use them to our maximum. Although on a 500 point game with 3 CP to begin with, I would be stretching it using them regardless.
Yeah, absolutely, it would be. But I could sit here and read them all to you, and then I'd get you to remember them, but that's never going to happen. So
no, not happening. Not my memory.
Yeah, we'll just wait until you get your book, eh?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, well, thanks for watching. Yeah, you should see another video of our match, so you can check that. I'll try and link it with this video here so you can see it. And we're going to play one of the combat patrol missions from this new Crusade book. Obviously, we're not going to be using the agendas because we're not actually in the Crusade yet and they don't mean anything to us, but we'll just see how one of these plays out.